Hello, Freedom Nation. It's Jeff, and I am here with another episode of the Freedom Nation podcast. And on today's show, have you ever just thought about your business as a business owner and thought that you were just a little bit stuck and couldn't grow your business? Well, today I'm interviewing Beate Chelette. Beate is a growth coach focused on helping people get their business going, especially early in the startup phase, getting past that first sale and getting to the point where you start to build and set goals and achieve those goals so that you can get your business off the ground. This is what she does for a living. So stay with us, and we'll be right back after this with Beate Chelette.
All in you. Everything you're looking for, it's all in you. You gotta believe that it's all in you. Everything you're searching for, it's all in.
Hello, Freedom Nation. It's Jeff here once again for another episode of the Freedom Nation podcast. And today I have a friend from, I don't even know where she's from right now, but
Los
Beate
Angeles.
Chelette, Los
You,
Angeles.
that was a selective memory.
I
You
know. I just try to forget Los Angeles whenever I can, but
no, I've heard that one before.
so Beate Chelette, she is a coach that really focuses on helping people grow their businesses. So we're going to hear a little bit about that today. So welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for having me. I think we're going to have a blast.
So glad to have you on. She just came off of a 3-hour facilitation. So this is finishing hopefully most of her day up with some fun. So why don't we get started? Tell us a little bit about your story first.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Germany. You may even hear still the accent. And my name, I think, gives it away a little bit, Beate. If you say it like my mother, it'll be like you're yelling at me. It'll
Yeah.
be Beate. And I started my career in photography. So I've always been a creative and liked the creative part about what I did a lot more. And then realized very quickly I was good at the business side of things.
Okay.
And as I went deeper into it, I realized I wasn't really a good photographer. I was a photo editor, ended up being a photo editor at Elle magazine. And then from there on, I immigrated to the United States, started working for a company as a representative, and then I was laid off after in the middle of a massive recession and after a major natural disaster. And then I had to figure out with a 6 months old, as my marriage is already falling apart, on how am I going to make a living for myself, have freedom, and somehow make it all work as a single immigrant mom in the United States, in Los Angeles, no less. And that's when the crazy journey began.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about the crazy journey. So what was that next step? Because you were at the low point at that point of, okay, all these things happening to me. What was your next step?
Well, that was actually the beginning of the low points, of
Okay.
many more low points to go. So what happened is I started looking for advice and learning how to run a business, which I did not know, and got into set up my own representation business and did photography representation and stock photography syndication.
Okay.
And I was making my way, things got better. And then every time I thought I made it, something would happen. Like then a photographer would say, I'm leaving. Let's see if you want to sue me to get the money that I owe you. And so suddenly I lose $300,000.
Oh.
And then there was fires, floods, riots. I mean, the whole 9 yards. And every time I thought I was going to get ahead, something happened. And then I get to the point, Jeff, I'm $1 million business. I'm in the 4%.
Nice.
I'm going like, yes, I've done
I
it,
made
right?
it, finally.
Yes, finally. It's humming along. Things are good. And then I get this really weird feeling in the pit of my stomach that something wasn't right. And my key employee was doing something and she's being very secretive. And so I fired her, and I find out I fired her 2 weeks too late. She had gotten too close to my employee, my vendor. And then they had a business idea, which was my business without me. And then they called all my vendors and made invoices that I wrote payable to them.
Oh, awesome.
I think that's called theft.
Yeah, it's called theft and fraud.
Yes, exactly. And so And then I called the client and I said, "Hey, what's going on here? Why is the invoice overdue?" They said, "Oh, we already paid it." I said, "You didn't pay me." It's like, "No, we heard that you're withholding money, that you closed your company, that you're no longer doing that, and they are now running the show." I'm like, "What?" And so this time I sued them because
Mm.
I needed to be
Yeah.
right. So I'm in this massive lawsuit, Jeff.
Mm.
It goes on and on. And just as I'm like learning how lawsuits really work in the United States, meaning that lawyers are making a fortune by
Yes.
you writing, giving them money to write letters to other
Other
attorneys
attorneys. Yeah.
that then respond and make a lot of money. And
Yes.
then it goes back and forth. And so I'm $130,000 in debt. And now I'm going like, well, this is kind of not good. But September comes around, September's production season. I had a $500,000 worth of production on the books, Levi Strauss,
Mm.
Wrangler, like Mercedes-Benz, great clients. I'm going like, I'm going to make it. And then I wake up and it is September 11th.
Oh, jeez.
One day,
Yeah.
it's over. I mean, it was just over. Like I
Yeah.
literally lost my entire business in one day.
One
Because
day.
after that, there was nobody, Jeff, that was going to go on a plane and fly from Europe to Los
Mhm.
Angeles while we're in the middle of this crazy terrorist attack.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, this is getting pretty bad. And so I fought, I pretended nothing happened, and they settled the lawsuit. When everything was paid, I had exactly zero, zero, zero.
But the
And
lawyers
then
all had Mercedes out of the deal.
thank you. Exactly. And then I had to start all over again. And then I had this idea of running the stock photography syndication, which I then built from the ground up. And as I'm building this and I'm building it and I'm building it, I'm going deeper into debt because I don't have any money,
Mhm.
remember? So now I'm
Mhm.
back $135,000 in debt. And I'm thinking, this is getting pretty dicey here. Now I have to figure out how am I going to bring money in. So I'm
Mhm.
flying to Germany. I'm visiting my dad. I'm going to a conference. And then my dad had a stroke.
Oh,
But
no.
my dad did not have a stroke. My father had pancreatic cancer.
Okay.
And so 6 weeks later, he's dead. And so I'm at the grave in Nether Bavaria, right? And and you just told me in the green room that you're going to Germany. So
Yes.
it's just spectacularly beautiful. The
Mhm.
valley, the Baroque church behind you. My phone rings as we literally just put him in the ground, and it's my office telling me that we've just been served a notice. So now I'm losing the house.
Jeez.
I fell to my knees, Jeff. I raised my fist and I yelled at God and I said, if you have a plan,
Can we get this working?
what is it?
Yeah.
Fill me in now. Now would be a really good time because it's game over because
Mhm.
I'm borrowing money to pay interest on borrowed money, the death
Yeah.
spiral of everything. And now as I'm going further down that spiral, I come back. I have to figure out how I'm gonna move, how I'm going to get myself financially stable. I'm like ready for the bankruptcy attorney, and then I get a letter from the White House. The
Okay.
White House. Okay, fine. I had written in my absolute desperation because my former mother-in-law was such a nag.
Mm.
You need to write the president of the United States. If anybody can help you as the number one guy in the country, why don't you just go right to the top? Why don't you just ask the president of the United States to help you? Fine.
Okay, I'll write the letter.
I'll write the letter. I get a letter from the White House. Guess who's laughing now? She
Mhm.
is. And she's like, well, I told you. And this letter put me in touch with the Small Business Administration. Let's just be clear: the president of the United States never saw this letter,
No,
but
of
some
course not.
intern, yeah, whatever. But it put me in touch with the Small Business Administration, with the second in command. Why? Because they go like, who's this nutcase woman that writes a letter to the president when they could have just picked up the phone and called me? So I got the meeting with the top guy in the
Wow.
SBA. And then they helped me to reshuffle my financials and
Mhm.
got my business plan organized, which I had written. And then they found me a bank that
Mhm.
was restructuring my $135,000 in debt for a 10-year fixed loan
Okay.
that freed up my line of credit. I was break even 3 months later. I was the world leader in my category 18 months later.
Good
And
God.
then a
That's
Bill Gates
awesome.
company comes and knocks on the door and says, "Can you tell us how you do it?" I say, like any decent woman would, "No." You want it? You buy it.
Yeah.
And they said, "How much do you want?" I said, "A couple million." And they said, "Okay."
All right. Then you're like, crap, I should have said 5.
Well, I got the number that I wanted.
Yeah.
So I had a very specific number in mind. And
Hmm.
I would have not sold if I didn't meet my number.
Yeah.
There's just no point. But when the
Absolutely.
number was on the table, I knew it was time to sell.
That's brilliant. What a story. My gosh. So tell me this. I mean, you've had more adversity than most ever. What keeps you going? What kept you going through all that?
I have a very simple belief. I believe I'm a good person. I don't lie. I don't cheat. I don't steal. At the end of the day, the joke cannot be on me.
Hmm.
And if I look at this today, if I look at the spiritual principles that I understand today much better than I did then,
Hmm.
it's by the book. I made a decision. I made a decision to build this business. I became the person I needed to be, fake it till you make it, to
Hmm.
make that happen. So I became that business owner that needed to run this company that had $1 million in sales, that was an equity based business that was ready for acquisition. I
Hmm.
became that person. And I had no other plan. There was
Hmm.
no plan B. There was no, what are you going to do if that doesn't work? There was no option. That was it. It had to work.
Hmm.
And it got so dark and so deep in, it's always darkest before dawn.
Hmm.
You are in this test missile range, basically, where you're being groomed into becoming this person you need to be to do that next thing that you're doing. And people forget that. They say, well, I can be all of that by who I am today. No, you're not. You
Yeah.
cannot, with what you know today, you can't run a global company.
No.
How are you going to do that?
Yeah. Especially if you're
So
not even running a regular company.
thank you. Thank you. So what is the practice run? So you state the desire. The universe says, well, here's your opportunity. And hint, it's not in a Tiffany box with a bow.
Hmm.
Opportunity does not show up nicely wrapped.
No.
Opportunity shows up in a pile of you know what.
Yeah.
And you go, what am I going to do with that? Right? What? The
Inside. Yeah.
president of the United States? Just can you just like go away?
You do realize most people don't get a meeting with the SBA head. So you did something right at that point.
Yeah, because I wrote the letter.
Yeah.
And because they got a letter from the White House too. And it says,
Mhm.
will you please connect with Mrs. Beate Chelette? And they said,
Yeah.
that is, I remember my first conversation is, why didn't you just pick up the phone and call me? It never even occurred to
Because you would
me.
have never picked up the phone.
It never even occurred to me.
Yeah.
I just wrote that letter because somebody else was pestering me about it.
Hey, you know what? It worked out in the end. So let's
Truly.
talk a little bit about what you do today. So you have a whole business focused around helping others.
Yeah. So today I help business owners and people that really want to become one to
Mhm.
find the shortcuts on how to get there. So as you hear by my story, I think I covered a large number of mistakes and
Mhm.
adversity. So I feel that we can really help in growth architecture business owners with the hands-on stuff on how do you actually get this business to work, not with
Mhm.
all the fluffy internet marketing thing, not with one more thing to buy, not with the buying from stage, selling from stage, product launches, click funnel, whatever. That's all great when you have the model, you can pull
Yep.
these things in. But where we really come in, we come in much earlier to say, how about before you spend any money, let's make the plan. And then you
Mhm.
know what you need to get you
Mhm.
there. And you'll save yourself time and money because that's what freedom is.
Mhm.
Freedom is the fastest way to get to the point in your life where you can do what you want because you don't have to worry about money and you can do what you want because you have the time.
Mhm. That's awesome. Now, who are your typical clients that you like to work with?
My clients are pretty diverse. So I've done
Okay.
work for giants like Amazon where I helped them on a facilitation. As we mentioned, I'm a hired gun as a facilitator for
Mhm.
some professional organizations that bring me in and they have me facilitate their groups
Okay.
regularly. I work with a lot of business owners that want one out of two things. They either want to grow a business or they have grown and now they need to scale it.
Absolutely. Written a book I saw on your website. So tell us a little
Yes,
bit about the book.
the book is Happy Woman, Happy World, Your
Okay.
Foolproof Fix to Get from Overwhelmed to Awesome. It is a book that I wrote after I sold my business, and I realized that there is a discrepancy between how men and how women do things. And I wanted to write the book on what the women's code actually is,
Mm-hmm.
and really helping women understand that we never will be able to address what's out there unless we address what's in here first.
Mm-hmm. Love it. So tell us a little bit about what other things are kind of upcoming in your world right now.
Yeah, so what's happening right now is that we looked at some of the dissatisfaction, and I know, Jeff, you will know a lot about this. A lot of the
Yeah.
dissatisfaction, a lot of people that are working uh, in corporations or in organizations are having with their jobs. They
Yeah.
just hate it. The trust is at an all-time low, not just the
Mhm.
political climate, but also toward corporations. And
Mhm.
that has a lot to do with, at first they said, it's COVID, we're laying you off. Then they said, just kidding, we need people. Then they gave you everything you wanted. Then they gave you everything you wanted. And then they said, just kidding, you're too expensive. Then they said, just kidding, we need to hire you back. And now they say, on second thought, I don't think we need you because we need better Q4 results. And so this whiplash that people have been experiencing has resulted in literally hundreds of thousands of people being out there on the market looking for things like certifications and how do I
Mhm.
start my own business. And so my team and I, we sat down and we literally mapped out the plan and we said we're going to build a certification agency where
Love
people
it.
that want to be business consultants, people that want to be project managers, people that want to
Okay.
be executive assistants to help podcasters you to promote the podcast, because I build workflows and systems. I do that when I'm sleeping. And so help train people in the systems that I've built, certify them, and then they can go out and can make their dream of being a business owner happen. And
Mhm.
not just that, but we give them something to immediately get started with.
That's awesome. Well, fantastic. Let's transition now to the fast five questions. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Here we go. First question. You wake up in the morning, business is totally gone. Now, I realize this is a far stretch for you, but business is totally gone. You have $500 in your pocket, a laptop computer, a place to live. What are you going to do first?
The first thing is call business owners that are in my neighborhood. And if I didn't have a phone, I would walk there personally. And I'd immediately start picking up some coaching or consulting business by walking door to door. I don't have any problem knocking on the door.
Love it. Love it. Not scared at all. All
No.
right. So, biggest business mistake you've ever had?
Running an ebook business company with where I thought that you could do coffee table books as ebooks
Mhm.
until I realized nobody ever walks into Jeff's house and says, "Oh, look at that. There's your iPad. Can I take a look at your coffee table book collection?"
I love it. That's hilarious. Here
Thank
you
you.
go.
Thank you, Jeff.
Here's
That was
here's here's my computer. Take a look at the books.
I mean,
Well,
said
it was an
nobody
idea.
ever.
It was an
It
idea
was
that
a
just
oh, come on. It
didn't
was
have
such a good idea. I'm like,
it
nobody's
is a great
doing
idea.
it.
I know. Well,
Nobody's
there's a
doing it
reason
until you
why, but
realize, wait, why is nobody doing it? Because it's an idiotic idea.
it's it wasn't idiotic. It was just an idea before its time. Now you can have they've got those frames for NFTs and stuff like that where you can put them up on the wall. You could put your whole book collection up on the wall and people could flip through your book collection.
That
It
would
was
bring us
just
back to
it's
Bill Gates,
too
the road
early.
ahead, because that's what he
Yes.
originally had bought all these stock agencies for.
Oh, really? That was his plan?
Yeah, that was his plan, to have these LED digital wallpapers where you could then, with the click of a button, have every
Mm.
wallpaper. And then he got in a pissing game with Getty Images, and then they had to see who is the tougher one.
Well, he has more money than they do.
Yes.
What's a good book that you'd recommend for our audience?
One of my favorite books is The Compound Effect. by
Yes.
Darren
Darren
Hardy.
Hardy. Yep.
Because it just takes a very simple concept of how small things compound to large things, and it
Mhm.
explains it. It has fabulous illustrations. It's really clever. That is a must read book for anybody who just can't get themselves into gear.
Mhm. I love that. What is a tool that you use in your business every day that you might recommend?
I'm really big on productivity tools. So I use
Okay.
Asana, project
Yes.
management, and I have a
Mhm.
particular way to set that up. I use a software, a whiteboarding software called Mural that I use with my
Huh.
clients, which I absolutely love. And what else do I use every day? Slack. I love Slack,
Okay.
because it allows me to get to people pretty quickly. So anything where we can communicate fast and effortlessly, and I can see what the team is doing globally. So everything on the productivity side, we always will be checking out.
That is fantastic. All right. Final question. And you've kind of touched on this already, but what is your definition of freedom?
It- I think there's a couple of ways to look at this. I think number one piece of freedom is to feel free yourself.
Yeah.
And feeling free would mean that you have a definition outside of work that is you.
Hmm.
And I would say probably only about 2% of people I've ever met have a definition of who they are outside of what they do.
Hmm.
So that would be freedom. The ultimate freedom would be to say, I am who I am, irrespective of what I do, where I live, and what I have, and
Hmm.
own that, plus the freedom to do what I want when I want it. That would be the ultimate freedom.
I love it. Fantastic. Well, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way or find out more about you?
Yes. So number one, if you have a business and you want to start, and if you want to find out why your business is not growing or where it might be stuck, go to our quiz, the Growth Blocker quiz at growthblockerquiz.com.
Okay.
Find out what your number one business growth blocker is and what you can do about it. You'll get a report and we'll tell you exactly what the steps are. And you can, if you heard something where you say, I must speak to this person, then go ahead, go to uncoverysession.com and schedule a 15-minute complimentary session. Make sure you mention Jeff and the show so that we give you priority treatment, and then we'll talk about your business. And while we edit, will you do us a big favor? Will you please go wherever you pick up this show and give Jeff a 5-star review? Make sure you leave a short comment. And that is so critical because it gets picked up by the algorithms as engagement. And engagement then pushes him further up so he can help more people to get to the freedom they so richly desire and deserve. And please share this episode with one other person.
Thank you, Beate. I appreciate it. Wonderful information. And I love your story. I mean, most people would have just given up and curled up in the corner, and you just put your head down and went back at it every time. And it's that stick to itedness that got you to where you're at today. And I'm proud to see where you're at and how you're growing and now turning around and helping other people do the same.
Thank you. I appreciate
So
it.
appreciate you being on the show today, folks. Take her up on her offer. Make sure that you mention the show so that you get the extra special treatment. And we do these shows for you every Tuesday and Thursday. So make sure that wherever you're at, that you subscribe to the channel, give us a little upvote. And like she said, pop a comment in there, and that helps us with engagement so that the show pops up higher and it helps other people. That's what we're trying to do. And that's what we want to do. So thanks a lot. And we will see you guys back here the very next time.
All in you. Everything you're looking